Right.
Hey, there we are.
Here we are. Just when you thought it was safe,
That's
we're
right.
back.
Just when you thought it was safe to push the record button.
Yeah, John, I'll
We're
tell
back.
you. I don't know how many times Bones called you, but I was not going to deal with another phone call. I mean, at night, during the day. When are we going to record again? When is this thing going to happen?
Yeah,
I throw my hands here. Bones, I'm telling you right to your face. I'm not answering your calls anymore.
yeah.
Did he call you? I kept saying, call John, call John, call
No,
John.
no, he didn't, but I have to admit, my phone, I did get several calls that said George Washington Memorial Park. I got like 2 phone calls from a cemetery.
Ah, interesting.
Could it have been him?
Interesting. Home base?
Come on, Bones.
Come on.
Don't be hanging around a cemetery.
Yeah. You never know what you're going to dig up over there.
That's right.
So, I had to say it. So how you doing today, John? I mean, I
I'm
haven't seen you
good.
in a while.
I'm good.
It's July. I know you put up 2 videos on Facebook that I really enjoyed. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
I thought you were at your best out there.
Thank
in
you.
nature.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Yeah. You just got the urge, John.
Well, not to go all the way down head first into the rabbit hole, but when something as big as the Georgia Guidestones being detonated or charged or however it happened, we don't know, right? Really doesn't matter to me. I don't really care if it was an act of God, i.e. a lightning strike, because that's always a possibility. I don't care if it was an earthquake. That's a possibility. I don't care if it was a direct energy hit from CERN. I don't care. Or I don't care if it was some sneaky person dressed like a ninja at 3 a.m. Pasting, I don't know what, I'm no demolition guy, but would it have been C4 or something, some derivation of that, some kind of, implant it and stick it on there and run like hell or low crawl belly. But the point was that on July 6th, the Georgia Guidestones suffered a fatal defeat, and it doesn't matter, because if a person did it, I still say it was an act of God, just like a lightning strike would have been in a court of law an act of God. Now, why did I really go off with the destruction of the Georgia Guidestones? I found out that most people had never heard of the Georgia Guidestones, and I was like, Mother of God, how could you not know? I know, and that's perfect that you might be able to shed some light on. I guess if you just don't hear about it, then you don't know what you don't know. But I've known about the Georgia Guidestones for at least 20 years. I mean, so that means before personal computers, right? I don't think I certainly didn't have one 20 years ago. Yeah. And, and it was the Georgia Guidestones were kind of like, kind of like the Lincoln Memorial to Lincoln, and to the cessation of slavery. That's what he was most famous for. So you put a memorial up, but the Georgia Guidestones weren't a memorial put up in retrospect to honor a person. No, the Georgia Guidestones were prophetic. They were basically perpetrating suggestive programming, suggestive mind control, telling the people slowly infusing their brains and their hearts and their minds with, oh, yeah, it's a good idea that the world shouldn't have more than 500 million people, that we should weigh our personal liberties and freedoms against the good of the world or something. I mean, come on.
Stuff.
Yeah. But the point is, if you are going to ascribe to the 10 commandments of the Georgia Guidestones, which is the 10 commandments of the New World Order, which is the 10 commandments of Luciferianism and Satanism on this planet in this third dimension, You're putting your trust and your hopes and your dreams and your consciousness into the hands of people who do not want to be recognized. Allah is recognized. The living God is recognized. Jesus Christ is recognized. So is Moses. So is Krishna. So is Gautama Buddha. On and on and on. And they left us dictums of deities for all the world to ponder for forever and ever. Amen. But the people who constructed the Georgia Guidestones are nefarious, evil people. Why would you want to commiserate with that? So, speaking to the apathetic, you better wake up. You better wake up, and you better not cry, right? When the New World Order spits in your eye.
That's pretty good.
Santa Claus ain't coming no more.
Santa Claus will be done. John,
Right.
now, the Georgia Guidestones are
Yeah.
2 hours out of Atlanta, the middle of nowhere. I find it hard to believe that nobody really knows who did it. I mean, it's in a monument city that they're noted for 75% to 80% of the monuments in the United States. I don't understand how. I mean, there were cameras.
How is that could happen?
Yeah, how could that
they?
happen?
Well, can I just jump in and
Please
give
do.
an example? Okay. Who killed Kennedy? As far as I'm concerned, it was the same people. Not literally, not physically, not the same names and not the same faces, but these well-heeled scumbags who go around dragging humanity into to hell in a handbasket. They can't afford to be outed. They can't. They really can't. And it's funny because no matter how mad the little man gets at the banking system for making us all debt slaves, and that's assuming that people understand that. Most people don't have a clue that the bankers have intentionally laid out a plan to make people debt slaves. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to walk into a local branch and start screaming and yelling and, God forbid, punch out the teller at the bank? You'll be arrested lickety-split. Your name will be in the news for assault and battery at the bank, and everybody will hate you. They'll close the bank for a big investigation. This way, people get even more pissed off at you. Who are you gonna vent your rage at? The teller? The teller could be your brother or your sister, or your wife, or your whoever, your daughter, or your son. So the whole hierarchy is kind of on a compartmentalized need-to-know basis. And who are the people all the way up at the top? Well, short of nefarious reptilian races that are on and off the planet, the dark side, short of that, and I kind of say that jokingly, but not so much jokingly, we've got the same suspects, the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and all of that crap. Where are you going to find them? Where are you going to find them? Are they going to be at a rally in the town square? No. So what is one to do? What are you going to do?
How about the way they went down, John? I mean, there were cameras, 2, 3, 4 camera angles at the Guidestones, and nobody's seen anything. So
Well,
not only did
yeah.
they go up suspiciously,
Right.
but they got taken down suspiciously.
Well, see, now I'm hearing things. What's today, the 11th? Yeah. So 5 days after the event, after the destruction of the Guidestones, at first it was, the video. The only thing that they let on was that there was a surveillance camera out by, I guess, an access road, that, in the middle of the night there was some car, rolling along the grassy easement, the grassy shoulder of a road. Well, who knows? Who knows what that car was all about? Maybe it was a guy with his girlfriend. Who knows, right? But early on, it was said the cameras caught nothing. Well, maybe that was a little lie that they put out there, because yesterday apparently there was a figure that was caught on camera approaching the Guidestones. Well, who knows? I don't see. Now, once again, we're back to fake news and no one knows what the truth is, so it keeps everybody off balance. Suffice it to say, we're not going to completely go down the rabbit hole that is the Guidestones, but I am thrilled that the Guidestones are gone. I think it's a real hard existential event that tells us that there's formidable, capable, stealthy pushback from the white hats to the dark hats. And unfortunately, humanity, probably the worst feature of humanity is apathy. It's a killer. It's a scourge. Think about the Polish in World War II and the people that were around the death camps in Poland. I think there were a couple, maybe were there a couple in the Czech Republic, but then there were a couple in Germany. Were the Germans who were aware of this? Of course. All right, what is one person going to do? You're going to stand up against the SS and Hitler's military machine? But, come on. Lots of apathy and complacency, which really is commiseration. When are enough people going to wake up to say, you know something, I'm not living in a world that is controlled and culled and killed and poisoned by evil. I refuse to do it because I existed just like everybody else here did, including the Bones. We existed before we were born of our mothers and fathers. We existed in the universe, and we decided to come here to help. So you better wake up, because as far as I'm concerned, you're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. I know that I certainly didn't make that up, but the time is now, people. The time is now to cast off your apathy. The time is now to put on God's body armor, just like I describe in the chapter Montreal, the City of My Heart, in the book called My Life with God, Balboa Press, 2019. Author John Gerard Gallucci, MD.
Great.
Yeah, so we are in spiritual warfare, people. That's what this podcast is all about. Is it all about spiritual warfare? Well, yeah, by hook or by crook. Ultimately, it always comes back. All roads lead to spiritual warfare. Everything you see that's happening, that's crazy, that makes your head spin, it's all spiritual warfare. Evil exists, my friends, and when I say that, there are hardcore conservative Christians that I've known all my life that would say, you never, ever, ever utter the words evil or Satan because you're giving it energy. Okay, but guess what? We're way beyond that now. Maybe that was good for 1975, but it's 2022. It's 2022, and if we don't recognize and expose and point at evil and inappropriateness, shed the light. If you don't do that now, people, to get people talking and buzzing, we're dead. And I've said this before, this reference, if you've not seen the movie A Bug's Life, this is all about the ants being terrified of Hopper and his goons, the grasshoppers, and you know what happens? The ants stand up and run Hopper out of town, and in the end, the bird eats Hopper.
Wow.
The bird eats
No more
Hopper.
happy endings.
No,
John,
not for Hopper.
Going back to apathy, would you consider that a form of conformity? I mean,
Of course, absolutely.
I mean, so if the people out there, I mean, why would you just want to conform, give in and just conform to?
Well, I think it's fear, and it's it's a form of laziness too, that they say, oh, well, okay, it doesn't affect me. And then it goes right back to that famous old dictum about, I can't, I just in my head, but I can't quote it, about, when they came for the infirmed and the deformed, I remained silent. When they came for the gypsies, I watched in silence. When they came for this group and when they came for that group, I remained silent because I was just fine. And then one day, there was a knock on the door and they came for me. So now, who do you expect to help you when you remained silent and apathetic? If you remain silent and apathetic in the face of pure evil, you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. And that's the only way that evil will successfully roll out its plan.
John, you mentioned earlier fake news. I mean, that's a real popular topic the last 4 or 5 years. What's going on with the media? I mean, it seems like when the news has come out, whether it's about the Georgia Guidestones, the president, whoever, it just seems like we don't know whether to believe it anymore. I mean, or what's their agenda? Like now, nobody was really talking about the president and his lack of
wherewithal, his lack of mentation.
Yeah, exactly. But now all of a sudden, little drips and drabs from sources you wouldn't expect are starting to turn on the president of the United States.
Yeah,
and they're starting to agree that, maybe he's not up to the job. Maybe he is too old. But I don't think it's really an age thing, because I know a lot of old people that are sharp as a tack.
I hate to say it, Nancy Pelosi's more capable than Joe Biden.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Right,
With
and
the hand
please.
waving and stuff. Right. Did you see her on that nude beach over there in Italy?
You know what? I gotta say this. I saw the picture, and my first impression was, I don't think this is Nancy Pelosi, and I'll tell you why. Because it's not that I'm a connoisseur of the breasts of an octogenarian, but she looked a little large and full and high riding to be somebody in her 80s.
Well said, John.
So maybe she had breast implants. That's why they're still there, but they didn't look like breast implants.
Well, she's had some work done, I would think, to that fotch, right? I mean, the face, I mean...
Well, we know she's got removable dentures because sometimes they fall out when she's talking.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, it looks like that face is pulled out so far that they tied it in the back of the head.
I know.
It's pretty tough to look at.
It is.
Why she won't just ride off into the sunset is beyond me.
Because she's a legacy from an organized crime figure. And I think most people probably know that by now. That isn't it amazing how evil finds itself in positions of control and power. And we're not talking about, the president of the local Little League. We're talking about Washington, basically, telling the country how to roll. You got to be kidding me. So, and that whole issue with her and the allegations of insider trading. Well, don't you think that this was wrong? Speaker Pelosi, whatever, and she's like, no, why?
Waving the hand.
Right, but if any of us did it, we'd be in Rahway State Penitentiary.
Oh, unbelievable! And supposedly her son might be dirty too in a couple of companies.
They're all dirty.
They're Hunter Biden.
They're all filthy, dirty. You know what? Good, square. And I'm not saying necessarily square means conservative. I'm saying good, up and up people that would never think of doing anything nefarious or illegal or injurious to others while they're being in service to themselves. Those people who aspire to high places like Washington, D.C., my opinion, they're all in service to themselves.
Oh,
that's it.
I mean, when's the last time I mean, look at New Jersey, John. I've said this before, I think on prior podcasts going way back. Because we are closing in on 100 podcasts. Is that correct?
Well, we got a couple in the bank because YouTube suspended the Jersey Alchemist.
Hard to believe.
Yeah, and they suspended us because I referenced a Bill Gates quote while he was giving, I believe it was a TED Talk, on stage. Where did I see that video? Did I see it 3 o'clock in the morning on some offbeat local cable TV station? No, I saw it on YouTube. Albeit it was, I think, 6 or 7 years ago. But, so I quote Bill Gates, and the quote was about this. Boing, boing. I know, we got to watch out. And it was related to if we do a really, really good job with that, we can, I know, we can the global by 15%. Right.
Say what you want to say. Go ahead. Say it now. Go ahead. Say
No. Right.
Make your mouth move like you're talking.
So look, if you all want to see what I said, just go to Rumble. It doesn't cost you a dime. Just get a Rumble account and go to the Jersey Alchemist.
Yes.
That's it. Or I believe it's still up on Spotify. The problem with getting your content on Spotify is that for this fairly non-techie guy in his 60s, every video we make, before you upload it to RSS syndicator service, you got to go through a YouTube MP3 converter. And that takes your audio-visual content and converts it just to audio. Once it's converted, then you send it, click and drag it over to the RSS uploader, which is a syndicator. And it sends it out to, I think we're on four different venues that way. I have yet to understand how to convert MP3 audio not on the YouTube free converter, because that's how I was taught to do it. So, any comments? Anybody watching this? Just give a little help here about how do I convert one of these videos on an MP3 converter that's not YouTube, because I would have to upload that video about the Georgia Guidestones onto YouTube and then click and drag the URL over to the MP3 converter, and then we incur another infraction with the YouTube SS, and then they'll kill the Jersey Alchemist in perpetuity, forever. Right. Forever. Right. And then Bones is out of a job.
Yeah, and who's gonna? Yeah, he can live with you. He's not coming to live with me. That's for sure. So there are other platforms for the Jersey Alchemist, John, like Rumble. Okay.
Right.
I mean, that's awesome. So our word can get out there. I mean, we just got to make sure enough people know about it.
Exactly.
Maybe we should do some quick videos, just telling the people where we're at, just to remind.
Yeah. Well, I've done that. The 2 videos in the park, except for right now. Neither, unfortunately, YouTube is the big pond. It's the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean combined, and so Dan Bongino and Rumble people, come on, man, step it up, because right now you're in a very, very narrow frequency, so to speak, with, I'll call them mostly conservative truthers. You need to get a program and a platform that's going to be seen as ubiquitous. We're on Twitter. I'm on Twitter, but you know something? Twitter makes me want to vomit. Twitter is nothing but an ocean of hate and one-sided ideology. So why do I want to be on there? Why?
Did you see your buddy Lex Friedman, his podcast with Joe Rogan, John?
I did.
How
Yeah.
about Joe Rogan saying that he would not have Donald Trump on his podcast?
I saw that. And I think that episode is only like what? Wasn't it done like on July
It's
5th
new,
or
it's the
something?
newest
It's
episode.
yeah, it's brand new. That's some, I watched Joe Rogan any chance I got going back about 4 years ago. And then I saw a couple of episodes where he seemed to be speaking the narrative bullshit speak, where somebody would ask him a question and he clearly would kind of, Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, I think, tagged Joe Rogan as a genius. He is a genius for what he does. Could he send a rocket to Mars? No. But Joe Rogan, for what he does, he's a genius. He really is. He's blessed. So I started to realize, wait a minute, this guy is carrying an agenda. And then I stopped watching him for about 2 years. Then I came back and I started to kind of regain my good feelings for Joe Rogan and his pod and the show. But for him to say he would never have Donald Trump on the show, I was kind of wondering if I could peel that onion. Why is Joe Rogan unwilling to have Donald Trump? And I think the answer is because of what Joe Rogan has been told about Donald Trump, that Donald Trump will use people and set them up. I can't remember who.
Joe Rogan never used anybody.
No, I know, but I can't remember who it was. It was an African American entertainer, I think. God, I wish I could remember who it was. And he had a meeting with Donald Trump. And then he went down to, and Donald Trump grabbed him and said, come on, come with me to the press conference, right? And here they are. I don't know whether they were in the Rose Garden or something with the podium, and the cameras are all clicking away, and the videotapes are going, and all of the news outlets are there. And Trump put his arm around this guy, apparently, and put words in his mouth. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to say, wait a minute, I never said that in front of the world to the President of the United States. So after it broke up, the guy was gobsmacked that Trump, it was kind of a quid pro quo where he offered some kind of deal to this guy, help such and such, support such and such. And Trump said, yeah, okay, I think you're on. We're going to do this. And then he kind of pulled him in and, and made him, the star of the Rose Garden
press conference.
Right. So,
But you get a chance to interview a former president. I don't care who it is. You have to go with it. And you can ask him any questions you want. I mean, put the boundaries. Hey, listen, because Trump's going to come out. Don't ask about this. Don't say this. But he only talks to the press every single day as a president.
I've
never seen a president talk.
I know.
As he did.
So it disappointed me that Joe Rogan, his answer when he was asked, why don't you have ask Donald Trump to be on the show? If he said, I don't, I got to think about it, that would have been one thing. Oh no, his reply was, like,
I think he said something about not making Trump look good.
I didn't hear that, but what I did get was just the energy about his reply was basically a hit the red button. No, that.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, exactly. Like, in other words, no way. And I was like, wait a minute. Now you're playing a game, Joey. You're playing a game, and I did not appreciate it.
John, money does corrupt people.
Yeah.
And
$100 million.
Yeah, and his 150, whatever it was, and
I don't know.
his employer now, carries a lot of weight.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And sure. And part of the Lex Friedman podcast, they touched upon, Lex Friedman loves to talk about espionage and the KGB and the, I don't know, is it the FBN or the FNB or the FSB or whatever the fuck the Russian around the back door intelligence agency is that's not KGB, and the CIA and MI6 and the Mossad and now, okay. Now, influencers are almost always co-opted by the intel services one way or another. Who's a bigger influence in the United States than Joe Rogan? Yeah. So when Lex Friedman said, do you think that you ever had on anybody that was really an agent? And Joe Rogan's like, oh, well, probably. And Joe Rogan had that look on his face, like, the look he gets when there's an unexpected knockout in a UFC. He's like this, he puts it, and I'm thinking, who the fuck are you kidding, Joe Rogan? Oops, I said the F word. Who are you kidding, Joe Rogan? You've had that guy that's ostensibly and outwardly a former CIA operative, and you've got all these other people, and you yourself are the $100 million man, whatever, however much he, Spotify stuck with him, even though Neil Young was putting big pressure on Spotify. Come on, you idiots. And then Lex Friedman, how is it that this guy who went to Drexel in Philly, I was an associate professor of surgery at Drexel and taught all their surgery residents and their pediatrics residents. I taught them pediatric surgery. How is it that Lex Friedman, whose dad is, I guess, a big shot AI physicist, scientist, Lex comes out of Drexel and all of a sudden finds himself in a spot at MIT. Don't know if he's still doing the MIT thing, but he did it. He got his ticket punched at MIT, and all of a sudden now he's rubbing elbows with Joe Rogan. Okay, you might say, oh, well, the commonality is jujitsu. Well, does every person who wants to have a podcast that does jujitsu, all of a sudden he's going to be kind of become a made man by Joe Rogan, right? So Joe Rogan, basically, they traded gifts and they fell in love with each other, and Joe Rogan floats Lex Friedman's podcast. Okay, so how does Lex Friedman go from Drexel to MIT to jiu-jitsu to Joe Rogan to Elon Musk being on his show 2 or 3 times in a month, followed by Mark Zuckerberg, and then all these other people, and Jack Barsky? Did you watch that one? I watched a 3.5-hour Lex Friedman episode with Jack Barsky, who is now, I guess, the naturalized American, but he was a Soviet spy. And I have to admit, it was one of the best podcasts I'd ever seen, and the 3.5 hours went by like it was an hour. I mean, fascinating stuff that gives you kind of a glimpse into that world. But who's Lex Friedman kidding? I think he's half Ukrainian, half Russian. His father is either Russian and or Ukrainian and or the mother. He's a physicist that works in AI. Right away, the intel services are all over you and in you. And Sonny Boy goes to MIT. I'm not saying Lex Friedman isn't a genius. He probably is. He's got the bloodline going. But I don't know. It's interesting to me that the influencers that we all watch on television, the mainstream media, they're all co-opted and deadlocked by the intel agencies. And now, 2 of the biggest influencers that are podcasters, to me, are the same. How do you get one of the most formidable KGB spies to do a 3.5-hour tell-all on your podcast?
Yeah, KGB don't talk.
And you're not connected to Intel? Come on, guys. It's please. You're starting to insult all of our intelligence.
That started a long time ago. John, if you had to alchemize this episode, which is definitely, it wasn't
Well,
like a dark episode. But
No, it's not a dark episode. I would say that the alchemy here for the things that we talked about today would have to be people, humanity is at a crucial turning point, right? Are we at the precipice? We are either going to go toward the light or we are going to allow the dark to surround us and literally kill us. The agenda of the dark, the agenda of evil, the agenda of the secret societies that work hand in hand with the intel agencies, their agenda is to do everything to us that the Georgia Guidestones laid out for us. Please look up the Georgia Guidestones and read the 10 commandments of the New World Order, the 10 dictums of the New World Order. Look at that, ponder that, and really think about, to achieve those dictums, who was going to implement those dictums? And the answer is the satanic secret societies and the intel agencies, and they'll do it through big tech, they'll do it through world leaders, and they'll do it through the people that control the governments and control the world leaders. Because 50, 60 years ago, world leaders controlled pretty much everything in the world. That's why they were called world leaders. But today, no, it's big, huge global corporations that have completely pocketed world leaders. Do you think the Canadians really, really think that Justin Trudeau is a transparent, altruistic, formidable world leader? No, he's nothing but the manifestation. He's a tin man. He's nothing but the manifestation of an evil bloodline that came through Fidel Castro. Those are the only people that want to take the guns away from a population, or to go in and seize the bank accounts of people that are peacefully protesting. Think about that, people. Okay? So please become aware. Take the time to make yourself aware. I'm not asking you to wallow in the darkness. That's the wrong thing to do. Like I said on the shorty yesterday in the park, we've got 2 diseases. One is tantamount to cancer. It's called Satanism and Luciferianism, and I promise you, it's what runs through the veins of all of the evil people that want to co-opt the world, that want to control the world. Klaus Schwab, evil. Bill Gates, evil. George Soros, evil. Most of the world leaders are evil. Come on, people. So become aware and fight against them any way you can. And, you know, we're not talking about violence here. We're talking about prayer, meditation, awareness. Bring the light, people. Bring the light. You might be surprised over the next few months the things that you're going to hear, even in the mainstream media, because the tide is turning, people. The tide is turning, and the destruction of the Georgia Guidestones is in your face, and it's direct evidence that the tide is turning. The living God will not relegate humanity to an evil new world order. And amen. That's it. Okay, Bones. Hi, Phil.
Bones, great job. John, great job. Thank
Yep.
you for the episode. If you like what we're doing, please press like, follow.
Go to Rumble, people.
Go to Rumble.
This will end up on Rumble anyway, but go to Rumble if you're just watching YouTube. And you can listen to us on Spotify and Amazon Music and a couple of other venues. God bless.
Next time. Peace.